What does it take for us to build workplaces and a world that is fit for the future? A question that plagues many a leader and many an organization. How do we learn from our experiences? Are we shaping ourselves and our workplaces to be fit for the future? What does it take to invest in people and nurture success? How do we ensure that our investments in diversity, equity, and inclusion are delivering to the intended goals? Are we seeing the very invisible responsibility that most employees carry, that of being caregivers? What does it take to build a caregiver-friendly workplace? Are leaders caregivers? What can leaders and organizations learn from caregivers and their experiences? How do we create safe spaces that enable inclusion? Is this something that is holding, especially women, back from the C-suite? We are delighted to bring to you a series of conversations around the idea of building future-fit corporates. It is my absolute pleasure to have Rashmi Mandloi, who is also the co-founder of Lead Up Universe. Rashmi is not just the co-founder of Lead Up Universe, she's a passionate CXO coach, helping high-ranking personnel to find joy in their work and personal life, in addition to helping them reach their maximum potential. She has several awards to her name, including Women of Influence and 100 Top Global Diversity and Inclusion Leaders. With that, hi Rashmi.
Hi, Bhavana. So excited to be here. Uh, Excited to talk about this new venture of yours.
Yeah, absolutely. I have looked at your journey and especially, your deep expertise of working across organizations is in the area of diversity and inclusion. And much has been said about the subject. So not only am I looking forward for you to share with our audience the work that you do, but tell us what has been your experience of working in the area of diversity, equity, and inclusion.
Very interesting. I've been doing DEI work since 2007 to a point where people didn't understand what it meant. It only meant women, there was this entire focus around get women some kind of focused conversations with senior leaders, and then they will grow. That is how it started off, and of course, I got into the subject. I got pulled into the subject uh, because I did start comparing what was happening in India as compared to other countries in the world, and I was working in a multinational bank. So I think, and I always thought that India was a little behind in terms of their thinking around diversity, equity, inclusion practices. But yeah, it is give and take, because the couple of things that India is behind on, but the couple of things that India is much ahead of in DEI as well. So having said that, I got a lot more understanding around it when I got deeper into the subject, and with the fact that India, being an Indian and being in India, living in India, you yourself are a DNI champion. Every one of us is, because we in every 10 100 kilometers there's a different kind of language. There's 100 kilometers there is a different kind of food that we're eating, and there's so much of diversity of thought and diversity of thinking and people that we are born diverse. But having said that, there are lots of things around our upbringing, around our culture, and it changes from north to south and east to west. Um, uh, where, of course, there is this entire labeling which has started off because you've been born and you've been doing a couple of your communities are doing a certain set of things, and that becomes the diktat. uh, where vis-a-vis the new cities which are coming in with new thinking, newer ideas, and new way of looking at things, and that also comes with the new generation, the new millennial also, which is more open and more forward looking in terms of new thoughts and ideas. So yeah, so it's been a great journey for me. As I said, it's been almost about 17, 18 years that I've been in this field. So I been an entrepreneur, of course, after I quit my corporate world in a multinational bank, Deutsche Bank, in 2012. And post that, I started with a couple of my girlfriends. We started a firm called Beyond Diversity, which was focusing a lot around diversity, equity, and inclusion. And we started off with focusing on women. In fact, our organization was known as Biz Divas at that point of time. But by 2015, this was 2012. By 2015, I realized that it cannot be just women talking about women, and we need to be talking a lot more inclusion, because we were not being inclusive at all by being women, talking about women and talking about women issues. We really needed a lot of inclusion of men around our thoughts and ideas, and that's how we realized that we need to be relooking at our organization also, and we started Beyond Diversity, where we started focusing around inclusion and inclusion of thoughts, inclusion of ideas. And we wanted to get away from the structure of gender, generation, culture, and sort of look at it from a more larger holistic perspective. So yeah, so my journey is still on, and I'm not saying that I'm a great DNI person, but I'm just saying that I am right now in a space where I end up looking at things in a construct which sort of is applicable to everybody, and I pause and I think whether it is right or wrong, and I think that is the best thing to do. So currently, I'm the co-founder of LeadUp. We realized during COVID that we need to be really looking at reskilling, and rethinking the way we're looking at work. There's a lot of disruption around, so we said that why don't we look at focus around the mid-career segment, where there is a lot of mid-career crisis, and help those individuals in getting them to the CXO segment. So I work in the emerging CXO segment, where I work around capability building for these leaders, both men and women. So that's what I've been doing over the last 20 years, 22 years right now of work experience. So yeah, exciting.
Incredible. I have a very special memory of personally of Beyond Diversity and having a little feature on your website after
Yeah,
one.
your motorcycle journey. Yeah, yeah, absolutely.
Yeah. Yeah.
Absolutely.
So, coming to the idea of mid career and the journey to CXOs, the fact that, it has been very important in the initial years for us to build a pipeline of have different types of individuals reach the top because you want diversity and inclusion at leadership levels.
Hmm.
So it has been important to get women into the workforce. Of course, there's still a lot of work that needs to be done there. However, we find that it is a leaky pipeline to the CXOs. And given that you are in that, in that very critical mid-career piece, I'd like for you to tell us, let's say, some of your experiences, anecdotes about how do women respond to mid-career programs versus how do men respond to mid-career capability building programs, and what are your observations about it?
So everybody's ambitious, and in fact, I want to quote a study that had happened about 10 years back by around the ambition quotient of
Right.
women across the world. It was by Sylvia Ann Hewitt. Um, and very interestingly, and I never questioned that, because when I saw it, I said this is so right, because they were talking about ambition levels of women in each countries.
Mm-hmm.
Uh, in the US and the UK, they were at 55%.
Mm.
Um, and the Nordic countries were somewhere at 40, 42, 48%. Would you guess what would be India's percentage, Bhavana?
So I have a personal bias, but maybe whatever, 65,
Yeah.
67.
So it was in 70, so 76%. And
Wow.
of course, Chinese women were at the top of the list with about 87, 88%. So I realized that, and I look at it and I look at my women around me,
Yeah.
be it my support staff, or be it the people that we are, the people that we are interacting with around. Women themselves are this big force, and we are also very celebrated in India, right? We are, puja jata hai. Women are, always, saying ki
Yeah.
ma and everything. So
Yeah.
there is this big force which is there. And this entire stuff of nurturing and caregiving ends up falling under the women's
Yeah.
uh, thing. So knowingly or unknowingly, she's the person who's keeping everybody together. She's the one who's feeding everybody. She's the one who's nurturing everybody. So I think that goes on, and we take it to the workplace as well. So unknowingly or knowingly, there is this entire stuff about women. Even though there are a lot of practices and there are a lot of forward-looking policies which have got applied to it, be it maternity leave has moved from 3 months to 6 months to caregiving leave. Sorry, to now you have uh, you know uh, husbands also getting leave, maternity,
Maternity.
maternity leave, paternity leave, which is coming up, which is there, and now they're looking at this entire Nordic countries where both the partners can choose the amount of leaves that they want to take because they want to look at it. They have a say in upbringing of the children. I think those are very very interesting and forward looking things which are also happening in India. But I also do feel that as we are growing old, we're all growing, and there is this entire aging population which is coming in India, and India is one of the largest populated countries in the world. So there is going to be a lot of aging population which is there, and unknowingly or knowingly, the burden of looking after them, from the children, it's moving on to your or to your parents, your elder care. um, which is good, and it's not like, and we are a country which really respects our elders, and we always sort of believe in being together, etc. But I do feel that because of the stereotypes that we carry in our mind, there is a little bit less support for women to sort of also go ahead with their career challenges, their other emotional challenges, their other maternity challenges which are going on, plus this added thing of looking after your elder care also because you are a woman. I do feel that there is less conversation which is happening there, and that is also showcasing in when we're looking at when I run this extremely good program called Emerging CHROs program, and the average experience of people sitting for that program is about 17 to 18 years. I do see very well respected top women who are doing well, who are ambitious, again, very ambitious to get on to becoming a CXO in the near future, who want to do the program, but they're hesitating because they are actually thinking that, who will take care of my mother-in-law who is, just suddenly, got some big, history of cancer, or something else is happening.
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
and also the fact that they will not take a decision unless they speak to their husbands,
Yeah.
uh, which is fine. I mean, I'm not, I mean, in a partnership, both of them need to ask each other, but actually then taking a step back because you're not able to do it, I think really a conversation around this needs to happen, because this actually also helps in getting women to the forefront and being
Yeah.
truly equal. The equitable, what the equity in the DAI, I think equity needs to be there in this as well.
So
So
well
yeah,
said, Rashmi. And like I could relate with the whole instance of a middle manager woman thinking that but this is primarily my responsibility, right? Whether
yeah,
it's my mother or my mother-in-law or whatever. I don't think I should even bring this up for a conversation. How will I be seen? After all, in Hindi films and Hindi serials, it's the bad woman who is ambitious and career oriented, right?
absolutely. Yeah, yeah. The stereotyping, which is so prevalent in India.
Right, right. Now, see looking at it from your experience, whether it is being a consultant to organizations or your experience of having been inside an organization, I'd like for us to have a chat about. You just gave us data to say that it is not about women per se. They are ambitious, they want it, they are capable. We've established all of those things, right? And yet, we are saying that only 7%, 11 to 7% are in the workforce, depending on when you take the
Yeah,
stock,
yeah,
and very, very few are in decision making positions, right? And those who make it to the decision making positions, may not truly be diverse in their thinking. So, if we originally wanted that we want diversity in decision making in an organization, we still have some more hoops to cross. What can organizations do?
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, that's what they say, right? And that's what that rule of more than two people in the decision room, rather than, they were talking about one woman in the board room will help
Yeah.
in moving decisions, but it was not really helping. The women said, I need one more person, or I
Yeah.
need two plus one to actually, sort of get a right decision on. I can only,
Yeah.
my voice might be heard there, but I am not moving the
Yeah.
needle at all. So right now,
Say a little more about that. Say a little more about this research. Not
so
everybody might know about it.
okay, so in 2014, we had this Companies Act where we got, with the Indian context, they said that, we need to have more women in the boardroom.
That's right.
So they came up with the Companies Act saying that for all public listed companies, there needs to be definitely be one woman
Hmm.
who is in the board, because
That's
it was primarily being seen that there were only men being in the board.
right. Right.
So there was this entire thing, and then they started the what is this place? They started monitoring the board things, and they started getting one woman on the board by 2017. In fact, Juan Ida, by 2017, I think there was one, at least one figurative one woman was there. Somebody put them others, but somebody put there this
Yeah.
daughter-in-laws or daughters, etc., which is still fine because you have still a diverse perspective in the room. But then there was this entire study which ended up coming. In fact, I actually ended up doing that research as well. And then we realized that, women were saying, yeah, we are there on the board, but to move any decision, I mean, my
Right.
voice is heard sometimes, is not heard sometimes, because there are 10 other men in the room. And we all
Right.
know that, if you have 10 other men in the room, there's one woman, unless she's really assertive or she's really has
Yeah.
a way with words, people don't listen. uh,
Right.
she was saying that, we need at least one more person to actually, give weightage to what you're saying. And so you
Hmm.
require more than one person in the board. And that's a conversation which is happening. There's no law right now. The law still says one. But
Yes.
hopefully, but we now see, at least most of the forward-looking organizations I have seen, is that they are now looking at more than, they're looking at people, the right set of people coming onto the board, and diverse also. In fact, right now, if there is a lot of focus around social media and digital engines, there are a lot of youngsters who are there. So you really don't need to be a 40 plus person to be on the board. So there are a couple of 20 plus people also on the board, which I think is
That's
very interesting because there's a diversity of age there. But yeah, you need the right people and the right thinking and the right people to give you context to make decision make to be the right decision maker.
It's an incredible insight, Rashmi, because what you're saying is that there is already a huge gap. There are many people working on getting women into the boards, and you're saying that the representation of one woman per board is inadequate. So, really, there is a lot of work that needs to be done to get people to the board. And getting into the board, unless you have certain specialist skills, can also be very, very hard. And which is why your organization or your work is about catching the midlife and being able to channel it and say, listen, aspire for the board and aspire for possible new possibilities. And it is not about individuals' capabilities. Sometimes issues are systemic.
It
uh,
is.
what in your mind have been some of the very difficult circumstances inside an organization that may hold women back or that may cause stress? And do you see any correlation with caregiving?
I think the biggest thing right now is about awareness. What
Mm,
I see, I mean, like I said, in 2007, 2008, people didn't know what DNI was. And when I started off my own consulting firm Beyond Diversity in 2012, still people didn't know what DNI meant. I actually had to tell them DNI means diversity and inclusion, doesn't mean gender. And uh, to to right now, when I see, of course, there is a lot of conversation around it, and there's a lot of, even if people don't end up doing a lot of things, people know that there is something around.
yeah,
There
yeah,
are practices and there are philosophy and there are this research and studies around why it is good to have different kind of people, diverse kind of people together, and how it is helpful to generate revenue if you have a diverse set of people. Similarly, I think for caregiving, because we are now an aging population,
Hmm.
we are, our retirement age is moving ahead. People are no longer looking at, saying the 60s where they want to just retire and, just go
Yeah.
and do gardening. Like
Yeah.
that used to be the thing around people, right? Everybody is now, and I look at my own people around us as well. I mean, my uncle, aunts, my father, they've all retired at 60, but I could see that they had so much to give back
Yeah.
till 70, 75, and most of them right now I do feel that I think they now need to really chill back. So there is this entire thing about awareness saying that, can we start looking at different contexts, different thinking around, our old ideas about, this is where people are moving, and after this, nothing is going to happen. They're not good for nothing. But can we have some nice structures around, making people useful, feel useful, so that they also feel that they're doing something back for the society. Secondly, around this awareness around caregiving, I think, where, because we have a mindset around people saying that women is a nurturer, caregiver, etc., which is natural nurturer and caregiver. So the mantle of, working around all the logistics around, if somebody falls sick or somebody is something, it falls on the women's head, however senior she is or however junior she is. uh,
Right.
so can we start putting in awareness saying that it is required? There are a lot of stuff which is required. There are a lot of elder care startups which have come up, which I know, where they are looking at, helping people with emergency care, etc. They're looking at, you know, I would not say old age homes, but specific homes where,
Yeah.
people after retirement can stay together. They can be happy. They can, move in like a community. Uh,
Yes.
so but if there is more awareness around it and a little bit of stigma taken away, saying that, where it is, oh, you are a good son or a good daughter if you only keep your parents at home and you're taking care of them. I think we need to start having this conversation. Everybody has a life, everybody has their own stage in what they are doing stuff.
Yeah.
But if we can start having a lot of conversations and start moving the conversations from, you know, the nurturing thing only falling on women,
Yeah.
vis-a-vis being an equal workspace, equal opportunities, equal policies for not just maternity and paternity, but also to take care of family and parents. I think we need to do that, and I do see a lack in current workspaces right now. Yeah.
What about somebody who may have spent a few years in caring for another person, whether it is a child with special needs or it is another person with, let's say, a very challenging
That's a very
medical
interesting.
condition, right? That experience, how valuable is that experience to organizations? For example, a large number of people, we spoke about it before, we started recording the conversation, was that, um, you know, uh, motherhood experience was never counted as relevant experience, right? And by extension it still isn't. And some people are making some noise around it, saying it's quite a leadership skill,
It's
it's an
quite a leadership. It
organizational
is
skill.
absolutely a leadership skill.
Yeah.
Multitasking. I mean,
Yeah, and
yeah.
caring for somebody who's vulnerable, who's learning, who's growing. After all, you need nurturing of teams in organizations as well, and both men and women need to do it. But let's say somebody has taken time off for whatever reasons, right? To care for a child, to care for a sibling, to care for a partner, and has not been in an active job. Do you think corporates should value that experience? If yes, why?
Oh, absolutely. I mean, why is not? I mean, I'm just saying that the quality of stuff that this person is able to do, if you know, while working and sort of able to manage. It's not easy to manage, and if you talk about especially special needs children, etc., it requires a lot of um, thinking, managing, decision making, which is required in the office workspace as well. So you actually become a little more nimble in
Yeah,
taking it more. You become a little more risk taking person because you have taken those risks and you have taken those decisions,
yeah.
which are emergency situations which are there. So, of course, I think these people should end up becoming mentors and guides to other people to sort of help and sort of talk about and move the needle around leadership skills as such. But yeah, organizations definitely need to take be sort of looking at them and saying that yeah, they are.
You and I have both been in HR and at the same time around an organization. And I'm wondering whether there is a case for us to make to young recruiters about looking at a different way of hiring for positions, because up until now we have hired for evidence based hiring, right? Show me the experience that you've done this job and therefore I will hire you. How about shifting gears to, I have a surrogate experience of caregiving, and maybe that is valuable for a leader. What do you think about that?
And I would be totally I mean, I've been a DNI person. I would love it if this would happen, but it's easier said than done because there is
Right.
a lot of mindset thinking around it, and also again, evidence is not there, right, for people to actually start taking decisions around it, and nobody ends up. I mean, there are leaders, the great leaders who actually put their neck on the block and they'll say, "Oh, I will take it up and I will see and I will take a bait on this person." But there are very few people who are there. In fact, it's interesting because in my current this XLRI batch people, they're all we're also looking at giving them opportunities, better opportunities. They're all working, but we said we. But there is still when whatever vacancies that we're getting people saying, "Oh, we need people from this industry only." And we would I'm just saying you cannot even be industry agnostic to look at something like like a function and a skill which is HR, which you can actually end up doing it across industries. Then thinking around this is a big mindset change which needs to be there. But yeah, I think the more we talk about it, the more we start thinking around it, the more conversations, I think the mindsets will change. And of course, if we can showcase some good evidence around it, good case studies, uh, I think that'll be good. More awareness and more communication around it is very important.
You make a great point about establishing evidence through research or probably studying some of these things and making case studies about it. I really like that point. And I'm wondering if you were to look at some of the journeys that you may have witnessed or your own. Uh, do you know of any practices that would make an organization more caregiver friendly? Because one of the things that we are talking to organizations is to say, listen, you would be future fit if you can embrace the whole person who is also a caregiver, right? Both men and women. But caregivers need a caregiver friendly organization to be able to share their story, to be able to talk about their challenges. So, what if you had an imagination? Let's just say that, like a blue sky thinking,
Utopian organization.
whatever, utopian or aspirational, uh, what do you think it would do?
I think the biggest need right now is for people to feel belonged, right? That is what is the basic tenet of diversity and inclusion. What is it that you feel? What will make you feel good? You will make you feel good if you're feeling belonged. Now, if you are a caregiver or you are doing something else, also, if people around you understand what you're doing and are able to empathize with you, in a very genuine way, not empathize. Oh, she's looking after her mother. She's mother is suffering, etc. But actually, sort of having empathizing and actually having uh, good platforms for the person to actually end up being productive, because end of the day we are running an organization, you need to be productive at work. Are you
Correct.
making those right infrastructure or the platforms where irrespective of the person's situation in life, which could which could fall to anybody, somebody somewhere, someone's life changes because of an accident or because of some illness or someone dies, and suddenly you becoming the caregiver or a care recipient. uh, you really, I mean, organizations need to be empathetic about it, saying that something can happen to everybody.
That's
uh,
true.
and then and at that point of time, do we have the right what do you say, a platform where the person feels belonged, the
Right.
person feels included, not just in thoughts and ideas where there's an empathetic culture around it where people listening to you, but also you giving the right sops etc for the person to actually end up also continuing doing the role, because they don't, most of the people who are working, they will not say कि मेरे को ना पैसा दे दो नौकरी कर रहा हूँ just because I'm an organization, I also want to contribute. So to actually make the person contribute,
Yeah.
so it requires a lot of thinking around stuff,
Yeah.
uh, to make so having first a empathetic culture, and then actually making sops and putting in your right infrastructure and attention and finance and money and leadership to make a person still be what do you productive at work. I think that is a conversation that is required. That is what I would want in a utopian organization as well. So, but it's easier said than done.
Well, yes, certainly it is, but it is a dream worth aspiring for, right?
It is,
It's
it is, it is. And if I'm so glad, Bhavna, that you have sort of talking about it. I haven't seen any other organization. I know there are a couple of NGOs which are doing a lot of work, but I think we need these kind of conversations coming into the corporate world, because it's all shoved under the carpet. Everybody is going through. Everybody has old parents. Everybody has elders, and everybody is taking out time. It's not like, and it's just not women, it's also men. I do see a lot of men also going out, or people coming and traveling because the parents are not in the same city, etc., and taking care of them. Thank God to COVID, people now can work from home and say, "Ki, hey, I am taking care of my, XYZ because the person is
yeah,
at home." Yeah, yeah. So, yeah, but if we can, sort of proactively, or I mean, we're already late. I think if we can now at least, start talking, putting in the right systemic, process and systems around it. I think that will really help, and you can actually end up becoming an employer of choice as well. Yeah,
thank you for saying that, because that's the thing that we would like to proposition organizations with, that if you want to be an employer of choice in the future, then you better be a caregiver friendly workplace.
absolutely, absolutely. Because
And
everybody is going to go. In fact, right now we are going to get old in the next 20 years. I mean, so I'm not saying that people in the 70s are they can't do anything, but I'm just saying there are enough and more stuff which keeps happening around, thanks to environment, thanks to pollution, etc., thanks to climate change. So you would need a lot of support, and
true
infrastructure
that.
support to do that.
True that. And I think we don't understand geriatric care enough. I think people are living far longer, but there are going to be challenges. Being in your 70s is different, and it is better that we recognize that. That being
Correct.
in your 80s is going to be harder.
Harder.
Probably you and I might, totter our way to hundreds, but it will be different, uh, you
And
know,
not easy.
and not
And not
easy.
easy. And I do not want my child to actually be somewhere down the line, get lost because the mother father are not well, and he or she is actually sort of letting go of their life and careers, etc., to take care of it. So I think the infrastructure as a country, we need to be really doing something around it, so that
Oh, you brought in beautifully my next question, which was that yes, we don't want, one, families are smaller. Two, we are the generation that are like, don't, it's not going to be natural that to expect of your children. So, what can organizations do to build the infrastructure for the care economy, in terms of organizations have a CSR, a corporate social responsibility, and maybe it merits building the care economy for the future because there will be jobs there. They will be,
Yeah, I no, not look. Organization should not be looking at it as a CSR activity. Organization should be looking at it as a business activity. It is like a business to do, rather
right,
than, so then only it will work. Otherwise, it ends up becoming saying that, oh, we're doing something which is corporate social responsibility because we are supposed to be doing it because there is a law around it. No, it needs to come out with saying there is a true business case for it. If we are, and if employer branding is one business case, then so be it. Then what are we doing around it? Are we
right,
actually looking at organizations and our people and are supporting them and giving them the right platform to be, again, the right platform to be productive? I mean,
right,
so I think that is important. So uh, having the right conversations, having the right systems, having the right policies, and maybe as a as a you know from a community perspective also, if all organizations are sort of supporting it. Right now, like for example, there was this big thing when both of us were in our corporate roles. There was this entire thing of having what do you say, this for women who have just delivered. You started having what is it known? Getting in offices you
employee
have
assistance.
the
Oh, the feeding rooms,
feeding
the
rooms, uh, and also the where children were kept, right? What is it known?
creches,
Crashes, sorry.
daycare facilities.
Crash, yeah, crash was a big thing when I remember in
Right.
2006, 2007, 2008. Organizations, it was like
Yeah.
the new IT parks had crashes and offices had crashes, and it was like the talking point. So I
Right.
think we need to be starting to have some conversation where something like a crash or something like saying some kind of a infrastructure for elderly care. Saying maybe it's good to get your elder parents to office. I don't know. I'm just thinking aloud.
Why not? Why
Why
not?
so because you can't
Why
keep them, and but my work needs to go on. So can I just have them around? And I know they are being taken care of. So we need to be starting to think radically
Yeah,
around caregiving rather than
absolutely.
be
And there is
thinking that
enough
oh,
and very
why.
interesting research about how older adults and younger children, if they are cohabiting, let's say
Wow.
in a facility, it can actually be good for both. So,
So it would be so nice to have all your grandparents around those young kids where you keep telling them stories, etc. And
yeah,
yeah, I mean, I think it requires a good startup to start thinking around this and start implementing it. So yeah.
yes, of course. And I think it is so important for us to embrace the fact that we are all caregivers. And only when we recognize that we are caregivers or that we will be caregivers, will we start, seeking support for it? Will we start learning about it? Will we start building our infrastructure around it? Because you asked me a question around research, I'm going to ask you a question around a recent research by BCG, which
Mhm.
said that if you were to divide employees into two categories, whether they are employee caregivers or non caregivers, what do you think is the ratio?
Caregivers versus non-caregivers. I think it should be 50-50. I'm not sure. Is it?
In Southeast Asia, it is 60-40, and in India, it is 88-12.
Ooh,
Yes.
wow. That's data enough.
Yeah.
Start. Yeah. Okay.
So the thing is that, and now our language is also shifting.
Mm.
And although still people don't identify as caregivers, especially in India, you and I will not say I'm a caregiver. But the fact, it's coming into our everyday conversation, and people are opening about it. And it has been a delight to talk to you about it. What would you
Absolutely.
like to say as closing remarks?
I would say that the kind of conversation you're doing, I think we need to continue doing this conversation because the more we communicate, the more we talk about it, people will start thinking around it. These are a couple of things that uh, because it's. I mean, and this last research number that it just threw me apart because 88% are caregivers, but they're not accepting it that they're caregivers. they need to start having a conversation around it, saying, yeah, it is important.
Yeah. Yeah.
Because once you realize that this is there, there is a elephant in the room, then you will do something about it. So let's do the conversation and let's start talking about it. Um, so yeah, I mean, it's very, very, very. I loved this talk, and I think we should be doing it. I will try and put you onto my networks as well, where we can do this conversation. I think it's extremely important that we continue it.
Thank you for your support, Rashmi. I know you've been a big supporter of Caregiver Sathi in your personal way as well, and I appreciate that. Thank
Thank you so
you.
much. Thank you so much.